Hey guys, Victor from Team Envy here, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about common wallbang positions and how you can make them useful in your ranked games. Wallbang is essentially just shooting your gun through the wall, and if you hit your enemy, it does damage, but obviously reduced. And some tips for wallbanging is, one thing you can do is you can ping the position that you want to wallbang on your minimap, and that helps you align your crosshair with the verticality of the body of the enemy. So if you want to go for body shots for whatever reason or headshots, like it'll be easier to eyeball it when you ping it on the minimap. The way I test how stuff is wallbangable is I go into a custom server and I just shoot at it, and if the bullet hole goes through, it's very visible. There'll be a bullet hole in the wall when you shoot at it, and if there is, it's spammable. If there isn't, it's not. So now we're going to go into game and I'll show you some of the most common wallbang spots that I like to use. And first we're going to start off with Haven. So the one I'll start with is here at long A as a defender. So what you find commonly at this position is that the enemies like to cross here using a cage or a jet smoke. And obviously you can just spam through this jet smoke or the cage or the jet smoke, but if you have a Sova here, and they get recon darted, this wall is actually very spammable, and people kind of forget to do this. And then the next spot I'll go to is at C. So what happens here a lot that is actually as an attack. So when you come up long C, defenders like to play behind this huge green box, we call it default. And what happens really commonly is that when you hit this bomb site and the enemy is recon darted behind this box here, people forget that this box is virtually almost spammable everywhere except here. So I'll show here, see? This part of this box isn't spammable, so you'll see that the bullet holes don't go through. This part is, so the bullet holes are going through. And this does a lot of damage, like just shooting through this wall when you see them recon darted behind her. Another wallbang spot that's very common, even with the rifle, is here. So I'll ping it. So how you want to wallbang is that, like, so let's say for example you want to spam this position. This is where the barrier is for the attackers. If you want to spam the right side, you can ping the right side here. You can use a rifle or Odin or Ares or whatever, and you can just spam like this, and it does a lot of damage. Another common wallbang spot that I like to use is as an attacker. Ciphers like to place their trip across this box here, and that's very common. So one way I use to break it is I use this wallbang here. So what I do is I nudge myself into this wall here, kind of, and then I look at. So you'll see that there's a little flower here. After you break the tiles on the door, obviously. If you spam here, you'll get the cipher trip if it's placed there. So another common wallbang that I like to use is at the A bomb site at Heaven. So in a post-plant situation, some defenders usually come from this position, I call it Heaven, and people forget that you can wallbang this whole cement brick looking wall. And the easiest way to do is just ping, like for example, if you think he's sitting in the corner, you can ping that and spam that. If you think he's on the other side, you can ping that and spam it here. But yeah, this is like, people kind of forget that this is not entirely safe to just sit up there and hide. Another thing that I find myself doing commonly is that when defenders come out of their, we call this CT, and when our Sova has a recon dart ready and it gets some scans off, this whole box there is spammable as well, the entirety of it. And you can see that by when you shoot at it, you see that the bullet holes just go through cleanly. And people kind of forget that this is possible. Even as a defender, if you're retaking this bomb site and they're behind the default box and pinged, you can just spam them easily and get a free kill, like this. and you see that it's spammable with the bullet holes going through. That's it for Haven, and next I'm going to be going to Ascent for some of the common wallbangs I do. One of the most common wallbangs on this map I find myself using is at the B bomb site. So this is mainly as a defender. In a post-man situation, a lot of attackers like to sit at this box and hold this angle for their teammates. And what you can do is you can have an easy wallbang for that spot and just quickly clear that position. You can actually do this for almost any spot on the B bomb site. You can ping almost any spot you want to spam. For example, some players like to play at this spot, and you can spam like that. Some players like to play, for example, here, behind this tall box here. This is spammable as well. The only part of this bomb site that's not spammable is the back of the bomb site. But except that part is spammable with an Odin. And a lot of solo players like to dart the back of the bomb site to get a ping off and spam anyone playing in the back of the bomb site, which is pretty common. Another wallbang that a lot of players use is mainly solo players, is to wallbang the infamous B main spam. And there's some variations I've seen some players use. Some players go to this box here and spam like this to avoid being counter spammed. So what's been happening recently is that some attackers like to counter spam the player that's going to be spam here, which is pretty common, especially in ranked. And yeah, I think that spot is good if you want to avoid being counter spammed and spam back. That's it for Ascent, and next time we go into a bind to show a little bit of wallbangs. Okay, on this map, I'll just show a few things. So for example, this bathroom wall here is spammable. Some players like to play, if they're playing here, this part of the wall is spammable. This part of the wall, some players like to get boosted up here. And it's pretty easy to ping it, but eventually you'll know where to spam just based on muscle memory. So this part of the wall is also spammable on the players that like to play boosted here. Some players like to play at this position here, and that part of the wall is also spammable. So you can easily clear out these positions quickly before your sight hits. The other one I'd like to point out is the one at B. So this tube here is spammable, but the defenders can hide in the middle, and what that does is this whole block here prevents them from getting spammed. But you have to crouch because the little top part here. So you have to remember to stay crouched here to prevent getting wall banged. So you should remember that all weapons, although a lot of them wall bang through surfaces, they do different amounts of damage. For example, obviously the Ghost wouldn't do as much damage as a Phantom when you're wall banging. The Odin definitely does more damage when you're wall banging, and yeah, this is why you find a lot of Odin clips where people just get easy multi-kills because of the wallbang potential. And what that does is, also against Odin spammers, you have to remember that at high levels of play, players like to what this is called jiggling, shoulder peeking to gain information, kind of risky. But against an Odin, jiggling isn't that safe anymore because they just wallbang the wall that you're hiding from, and you just take a load of damage. So those are some common wallbangs for 3 major maps. Make sure you guys don't use all your bullets when you wallbang, or the enemy will hear you reloading and capitalize on that. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below, and please like and subscribe.